Welcome to Behind the Knowledge, a best hour podcast where we dive deep into the lives and stories of inspiring coaches from all walks of life. The two hosts of this show are me, Pat Barber, and my good friend and fellow coach, Todd Acuto. Each week, we'll sit down with the most amazing coaches we can find, uncovering their unique paths, the challenges they've faced, and passions that continue to drive them. Whether you're a seasoned coach, an aspiring one, or simply somebody who likes listening to stories of how people achieve the success that they have, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the powerful stories and insights from the world of coaching. This is Behind the Knowledge. Let's jump in.
There it is. Look at that intro from Mr. Barber himself. We are back. Another episode of Behind the Knowledge. As always, I've got my co-host, Pat Barber. And this week, we're excited to have Mr. Connor McDonald on the show. Seminar staff member, CrossFit Level 4 trainer, owner, CrossFit Bar 10. Or is it Bar 10 CrossFit?
Bar 10 CrossFit.
Bar 10 CrossFit. Former collegiate baseball player, my man. I love that. Regional athlete, semifinals athlete, you name it. The list goes on and on, man. Appreciate you being here, dude.
Appreciate the making me sound really cool, man. It's way cooler than I actually am. It's awesome.
I would disagree with that, but we'll take it.
I've also recently cruised your social, and I was like, dude, you've been on a bunch of podcasts recently. You do all kinds of stuff. Like, you seem to be getting the word out there and like making it a mission to do so.
Thank you, man.
So it's I'm excited to chat. You and I have not had tons of interaction over the years for some reason. We've been in different worlds, but
yeah,
I'm excited to have this.
Different parts of the country, that doesn't help, But yeah, I'm stoked to be here. This is an honor that you guys are going to ask me. So
yeah, dude, for sure. And where we typically like to start is just coaching journey. And I know you've got an athletic background, so I'd be curious to know, like, even before CrossFit, where did coaching start in your life?
First time I ever coached was actually CrossFit.
Okay.
But all growing up, I was an athlete. I grew up in Texas, so like everybody else in Texas, played every sport with a ball, like you name it, football, basketball, whatever. Always thought I would be like I was an athlete, right? So I'm going to be a professional athlete. I'm going to play for the Houston Astros. I'm going to play for the Dallas Cowboys, whatever, right? Obviously not. So really, I kind of in high school when I started realizing like maybe that's not as realistic as like I once thought it was. I'm like, well, I'll be a coach. Like I could see myself like coaching baseball or football or whatever.
Right. So, those that can't do coach. That's what that's what I'm getting from that is good. All right, cool.
Turns out a 5'11" white guy weighs 180 pounds soaking wet. It's not really very likely you're going to the NFL. It's crazy.
Bro, you're talking to 5'7", 170, yes. So let's go.
Yeah.
But no, man, I thought that coaching would be something that I would enjoy. Like I said, played a little bit of ball and one year of college baseball, and then quickly found out even more real that I was like, all right, these guys are for real. Like I am not one of them. Joined the military for a little bit, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Spent almost 4 years doing that. And then when I got out, it was like full blown coaching CrossFit, man. That's all I've done since then.
So where did you find CrossFit? How'd you stumble across it?
So I was in the Coast Guard. I was stationed in Sitka, Alaska for almost 3 years. My first unit out of basic, super small town. It's on an island and it has like 1,200 to 2,000, like it's like less than 2,000 people, man. 9 miles of paved road. And I'm a 19-year-old kid, like just came out of freshman year of college. Like I'm used to like the frat party lifestyle and all that stuff. And there's nothing there, man. It's dark all the time, rains all the time. Anyways, I got really into fitness there, but was more so doing like bro lifting, like bench press curls and like skull crushers and that sort of thing. But there was a group of Coast Guard rescue swimmers, which is like the tip of the spear for the Coast Guard. It's like the Navy SEALs. There was a group of them stationed there, and they did CrossFit in our gym on base, which was like 1,000 square feet, had like a squat rack and a couple pull-up bars and like dumbbells. And I thought they were badasses. Like would always see them doing their thing, whatever. But like, what are they doing? Like those guys are so cool, man. Didn't really understand like what they were doing or why they were doing it, but I just like thought they were cool. Long story short, man, one day they put, they would write their workout on the whiteboard and like their scores and stuff. I didn't understand it. The concept didn't make sense to me, but they did, Filthy 50 one day. And I had come in the gym like right after them and I saw them like finishing up and they had their times up there, like 20 minutes, 23 minutes, whatever. And the workout's written right there. So I just did it but I also did it like not for time, and would do like 10 of one movement and be like, nah, that looks good. I'm going to go to the hip extensions next. We'll do 10 of those. Let's go back to jumping pull-ups to 10. It took me like an hour and a half and I was dead. Right. I was looking at the scores after. I was like, this is BS, man. There's no way they did that. So I didn't do it again for like another year or two.
When was this? Like, what was the time
This
frame?
was in 2012, maybe 2012, 2013.
Okay.
Then ended up getting transferred. So I didn't like, that was my CrossFit experience. Like I did the one workout. I was like, these guys are full of crap, man. They said they did this workout in 20 minutes, an hour and a half. There's no way. Like I'm fit and I can do it that fast. Like that can't be real.
That's interesting to me because you had watched a move. You would think there'd be a little bit of context because I would assume that they were going bananas and like sweating and, you know, dying and all that kind of stuff to where you would get some idea of like, I guess when you do this, you're supposed to look like that at the end of this, right?
I think I did look like that at the end of it. It was just like my fitness relative to like theirs was just so low. Yeah. But I ended up getting stationed in Michigan right after that, Ludington, Michigan, another small town. And the condo that I was living in, little single bedroom condo, was right across the street from a CrossFit affiliate. And every day I'd be like going to work or whatever, and I'd see them like flipping tires and climbing ropes and doing all that stuff. And like, eventually one day I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go in there. And did, man. And then it was like, never looked back after that.
It's awesome. So was there any like, cause it sounds like you had an ego and it was hard for you to face that initially. So
100%.
Coming in and like, once you made that final step, like when you stepped into the gym and went from like, okay, this stuff's lame, they're all liars, to finally doing it. What was that where like, what was the overcoming there? Like, do you remember that process? Do you even remember like maybe the initial times of like doing the shit and just being like, oh, this is not good, like pain? Like what was that like?
Yeah. So I remember very vividly the first time I went in and like the first week, the little town I was in was like I lived on like the main street or whatever, the square, and would go like bar hopping at night. I was like 21 or 22. I was young. I ended up meeting one of the coaches at the bar, and she was a female girl about like the same age as me ish. And she was like talking about it. And she was like, you should come tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like that stuff's stupid. Like I tried it one time. It's dumb. Like that stuff's like, you know what I mean? Anyways, ended up going the next morning, and keep in mind, we'd been at the bar like all night before, like went to bed at like 1 or 2 a.m., go to the 6 a.m. class the next morning. We did Helen. Dude, I made it through one round and was like, the ego that you just mentioned, it was 100% there. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to dust all these people. Like, I'm about to run this 400 a dead sprint. Like, I've never swung a kettlebell before, but how hard could it be? And like, I can do 15 strict pull-ups in a row. So like, I didn't know how to do kipping pull-ups or anything. First round, bad out of hell. Go on the run for the second round, and I stopped and just started puking everywhere, man. It was brutal. That's
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a very humbling experience because I was the one at the end of the workout where like, you know, like the soccer moms and all the people are like, come on, you can do it. Like and I'm like a 22-year-old kid. I'm like, this is the most demoralizing thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, it pissed me off, man. I was like, I got to figure out how to get better at this stuff. Like I can't be that bad at something. So, yeah.
So how long did it take? One, did that make you commit to coming back? Because I can like, there's some of those situations where you're like, this is so stupid. I don't want to be embarrassed again. I'm not coming back. Right. It's like that moment of truth. Can I deal with the embarrassment of not being very good at this and figure it out? Because you're probably because of that ego and because you're stubborn, or disappear. Obviously, seeing where you're at now.
I did stay, and it did like challenge me to come back. But I mean, the first time around when I did it in Alaska, like I was like, nah, what you just described. I was like, nah, it's stupid. Like I don't need to do that. And then the second time I was like, all right, different perspective. And this was like a Monday, I think. And I'm talking to that, the girl's name was Claire, the coach. And I was like talking to her after, I was like, what is this stuff? Like, what's happening? Like, I can't figure it out. Like, I thought I was fit. Like, I'm the fittest guy at my unit. Like, I have been. I can do the most push-ups. I can run the fastest, like the PT, whatever. Like, I always max it out. But I just got, like, embarrassed in front of all these, like, middle-aged women. Like, what is it? She was like, you should go take your level 1. And like,
really? She didn't try to explain it. Just go and do that?
Yeah, she was like, you know what? Just go take your level 1. I was like, what's that? She was like, just sign up and go do it. I'm like, okay. Took my level 1 that weekend.
Oh, really? You signed up and did it that quick? Dude,
yeah, like
that's
5 days later, yeah.
That's impressive.
Claire Bays, is that her last name?
No,
okay.
Her name is Claire. I think Claire Payton is her name. Something. Okay. Claire's a good friend. Shout out.
Okay.
Claire.
Gotcha. Shout out to Claire. She's great. I've seen her stuff over the years and watched her evolve as a presenter and whatnot. But have you since then, like, how many people have you met and put through those first experiences that were like you? Because I imagine you've run into them and like you can connect in a very different way. Like, you know, having experienced that, like, has that been something that you've seen and like been able to work people through?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's, as you guys know, running gyms and coaching, like it's like so many of them, right? It's usually like ex-athlete, like most of the time it's dudes, like ex-college football players, whatever it is. And they think they're in shape, and like, it's all the time, man. I'm like, can see it in their eyes, like the beginning of class, like talking to them, like, dude, you're about to get baptized, man. This is great. And afterwards, it's like, all right, now we get to like explain my story a little bit. Like, hey, man, I was there. Like, I know exactly how you feel right now. Like, come back tomorrow morning. Let's start our foundations or whatever, and let's like talk about how to like go into this stuff the right way. But yeah, it happens all the time. Man.
So now you go straight to your level 1. So you went from that like week experience to the level 1. Like, what was the level 1 like after that then? Like, cause that would have been just like fire hose. Like you experience it and you go, oh. And then you go to a level 1, and what instructors did you get? What year was this?
So this is 2014. It was June of 2014. And I was getting out of the Coast Guard in July. So I already was on my way out, like doing all the logistics and the formalities and stuff to get out. Had no idea what I wanted to do when I got out. Like, I just completely clueless, just a dumb kid that's like joined the military to give me some direction. And like, I was like, all right, this isn't really my thing. Like, now what? But dude, the level 1. So I had Joe Westerlin was a flow, Jesse Ward, and Matt Chan. It was in Columbus, Ohio. So I drove from Ludington, Michigan to Columbus, Ohio, which is about 7 hours, at the Rogue headquarters.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought my first Nanos there. I remember that because I showed up wearing like Nike free runners. You know what I mean? Like, no clue what's happening. But I went into level 1 legitimately not knowing I didn't know that it was like a seminar course to become like a trainer. Like, she didn't tell me anything about it. She's like, you just take the level 1. I'm like, all right. Like,
That's crazy that you were willing to dish out $1,000.
I think I was just that like young and dumb and had like no direct. I was just like, okay, whatever. She's my friend. She said to do it. Okay, like, that's
cool.
Completely naive. But yeah, man, it changed my life. That weekend was like, from the very beginning when Joe did the What is CrossFit, like the opening remarks and What is CrossFit lecture. And I'm sure it was 2.5 hours long. But
yeah, no, Joe.
Dude, it was like, holy shit! Like, this all makes sense. Like, how have I never, like, dude, it was mind blowing. Like, from that day on, I was like, this is I'm gonna do what they do. Like, I want to do that.
So you want to be a coach, or did you want to pursue it athletically, or both?
I want to be a coach. I wanted to be Joe Westerlin. Like, I was like, I want to travel and wear the red. Like, I thought it was the coolest thing in the entire world what they were doing, and they're so passionate and they were so knowledgeable. And honestly, like, all throughout growing up in school and stuff like that, I was always like the kid that they tell the parents, like, oh, he's like, if he would just apply himself, he's so bright. You know what I mean? Like, I was smart, but I just like didn't have any, like, I didn't care about math and like geology. Like, it just wasn't my thing. I always thought I was just a bad like student or like whatever. But this stuff, like, I couldn't turn my eyes away, and it was just like so captivating. And I was so obsessed with it. Yeah, man. I called my dad on the way home from the seminar Sunday evening and was like, he's like worried about me at this point. He's like, my 23-year-old son's about to get out of the Coast Guard. He's probably gonna move back home. Like, what the hell is he gonna do? Like, and I'm like, yo, Dad, I figured it out. I know what I want to do. He's like, what is it, Connor? I'm like, I'm going to be a CrossFit seminar staff trainer. I'm going to be a CrossFit coach. And he was like, all right, like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm so serious. This is what I want to do. He's like, all right, Connor, like, good talk, man. Whatever. I didn't believe it.
That's awesome. And that first crew too that you had, I mean, what a group. Joe Westerlin, who's like quirkiest, funniest, but like passionate and smart and like great. So and then Jesse Ward, like, come on, Jesse. So brilliant too, like just unbelievable smarts. And then you get Matt Chan, who like represents the ideal man. You know, you're looking at this guy who's just like tatted out of his mind, freaking jacked out of his mind, and just like methodical.
was 2014. So he was like still like
Still
in
in
the
it.
top 10 at the games, like a
Oh,
big
yeah.
deal. I didn't know who he was. And now like people kept like taking pictures with him and like all this stuff. I was like, who is this guy? So I texted my buddy, my best friend who had been doing CrossFit for about a year. He had also tried to talk me into it. I was like, yo, I like took a picture of him. I was like, who is this guy? He's like, yo, it's Matt Chan. You got to get a picture with him for me. I was like, all right, bro. Like, Matt Chan, who's that?
That's awesome. So you finish your level 1 and you go back to your gym. And so what happens there? I would assume you become a member, obviously. And then do you start talking to him about coaching right away?
Not necessarily. I was only there for, I think maybe like 2 or 3 more weeks. So we'd like kind of discussed it, but I ended up moving. Like I got out of the Coast Guard. So it was like, all right, now I'm going to go back to Texas. Like I'll go home and figure it out. And at the time, my dad was a middle school football coach and like teacher. And one of the teachers at the school, her husband had just like switched careers from like whatever he did to go to open a CrossFit gym in my hometown. Like doors were opening in like August and I got out in July of 2000, like weeks before that. Right. So my dad was like, oh, like I'm going to connect you with this guy. Like he doesn't know anything about CrossFit like himself at all. He's like, yeah, my son said he got his level 1. He wants to be a coach. So he like connects us or whatever. And I just basically like drove up to the gym one day when I got back, like the first day I'm back, and the owner was there. His name is Jason. He's like painting the walls. Like they're not even open yet. I just walk in like dumbass kid, like, hey man, are you hiring coaches? Because I got my level 1. And he's like, what? Who are you, dude? Like, I'm like, I think I'm going to be your coach. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm like, all right, man. Like, we're opening next Monday. Like, show up and just come take class, and we'll go from there. Yeah, I lucked out with that because the gym like opened almost the day that I got home, so it was just like good timing.
So even what was that evolution like? So you start. I can tell you how many, like, I can't tell you how many people have walked into my gym and like, hey, I want to coach here. And I'm like, cool, show up on Monday to take a class. And
Take a class.
Clearly it doesn't always pan out that way, right?
Right.
Half the time they won't even show up. So obviously you show up. So what is even the journey from, hey, I moved to town, telling this guy I want to coach for him? Like, how long does that evolve and how long does that take for you to actually start coaching?
It's probably about a year. I still had no idea. Like, I'd been doing CrossFit less than a month. Like, I was extremely inexperienced. Like, first workout before the gym's even open, it's like him and his wife and like a few of their like friends that had come with them from the other gym that were helping them like paint and stuff. I go work out with them, and I don't remember what the workout was, something with snatches, and I had 135 on the bar, didn't put clips on. This is my first experience around these people, and like 135 power snatch at that time was probably like a 1 rep max, but I remember getting it over my head and just like, oh shit, like plates fall off, and like it was like record stops, like one of those things, like the most embarrassing thing. They're like, this is the guy you said you want to coach here? Like, I was like, all right, man, this is not a good start. But no, I became a member and took class probably 6 months or so. I was just always in his ear, like, hey, whenever you're ready, like I'm ready to start learning or whatever. So he kind of took me under his wing and shadowed him for probably 3 or 4 months, and then started kind of like co-coaching with him. I would do the foundations. Like that was my first like intro into it. Like we recommend at the level 1. I was actually one of the few people that started with one-on-one training. Did foundations for like 2 or 3 months, and then just kind of eased me into it. Started letting me coach like 1 or 2 classes a week on my own, and then was actually there for about 4 years, and ended up coaching like 15 or so classes, I think, at the tail end of that.
So when you first start coaching, because you weren't a coach previous, and as an athlete, I know that a lot of us as athletes, it's like, hey, someone says do this thing, and you go okay, and you do the thing, and it comes pretty naturally. What was when you first started coaching other people? What was that like for you? Like, did you find it easy? Did you find it one of those things where it was difficult to communicate? Like, what was that? How did that process feel for you? Like going from athlete to coach initially?
Yeah. Well, I was still very much considered myself an athlete at that time. Like I was pretty motivated by like the competitive landscape of CrossFit. But it was a different realm that I'd never been like in charge of a group before. When I was enlisted in the military, and I was like very low ranking. I was never a supervisor, like in charge. Like I was taking orders, not giving orders. So I think it was difficult especially because most of the members at this gym were like 40 plus years old. And I'm like just some kid, you know what I mean? Like I don't think I think I had to earn my respect, which took a little bit, and me to kind of like learn how to navigate, like talking to a 55-year-old woman and telling her she needs to scale, all that. Like it was just completely uncharted waters for me. But it was very different.
Can you remember any mistakes that you've made? Does anything jump to mind when I say that? Like, just because I know for me, I've done some big ones in my coaching career, but in those initial years, can you remember some of the mistakes that you made?
Totally. I very much leaned on the like the side of like, if you can do it RX, or like if you can do that weight, even if it's like once and your back looks like a fishing pole, like that's what you should do, because it gives you a higher score. Like I like that was my coaching persona for like at least a year. I was like, yeah, like RX for sure. Like why? I didn't understand the concept. I was very young and dumb.
What was the gym owner like? Like as far as a coach, did he set a good example? Did he like, the 6 criteria we talk at the level 2? Was he pretty solid with those, or was he fairly new and kind of inexperienced, like a lot of coaches and a lot of people that are open affiliates?
He was new to CrossFit coaching, but he was a like very well respected and kind of like a well known high school football and basketball coach in the area for years.
Okay.
So his coaching, like his presence and attitude, and like his group management and ability to connect with people, like he was like really, really good with his words, and just somebody that you want to listen to. And like he says things, you just want to be around him. So like that stuff, he was like one of the best I've ever been around. Mm-hmm. The technical aspect of like seeing, correcting, all that stuff, I think he was refining that as he went. But the other side of that was like, that's where I learned like presence and attitude, and how to talk to people and how to connect, and like how to navigate tough conversations and all that stuff.
Was that mostly just by watching him do it, or did he do anything to like kind of help facilitate that and like just have any way to actually develop that in you?
I think a little bit of both. He's still a great friend of mine. He was actually one of my groomsmen in my wedding a few years ago, but he's roughly 10 years older than me. And he kind of just like became a mentor, like took me under his wing. I worked out with him every day outside of class. I would go over to his house on Saturdays and train his garage. Like I spent so much time around him that I don't know that I really realized what he was like, that he was like kind of teaching me all this stuff. It was kind of like under the radar, him sneaking some stuff in here and there. But I think just kind of being around him that much, just like it rubbed off on me,
We talk a lot about it in the knowledge of like one of the biggest things we can be is just surround ourselves with better examples. Like you're only going to be as good as the things that you've seen. So like when you haven't been exposed to much, then that's the prime. That's kind of your ceiling to some degree, unless you're like particularly studious and outreach and and like it's just a slower growth. So it sounds like he did everything he needed to. He just tried to grow himself and took you under his wing, and you paid attention. You went from there. Are you a CrossFit coach who's feeling stuck in their development? You're not alone. Many coaches lack good guidance when it comes to how to develop as a coach. They either don't have strong examples they find themselves around, they may lack support from their gym owner, and they just feel unprepared going into their next credential. That's why we made the Knowledge Pro, to fill that gap. It's a mentorship program built for coaches like you. It uses the Knowledge Daily, our comprehensive video library, as well as extra content that we put directly into the Knowledge Pro on our live weekly calls twice a week to mentor you and get you to the next level of development. We've got progressions, we've got scales, we've got one-off tips and tricks, we've got full coached classes by level 4 coaches so you can see an example of what it means to do this job well. All of that will also be walked through each week on those live calls, so that you have a soundboard to bounce off of and a group of coaches looking to be better to help support you in your endeavors. Coaching isn't just knowing what to do. It's also knowing how to do it. And that takes 2 things. 1, an example, and 2, practice. Practice is on your end. You got to go out there and do it. We can help provide that example and the support with the Knowledge Pro. If you want to know more, click the link below and give the Knowledge Pro a shot. I look forward to seeing you on one of the next calls. Who was the first technician you ever saw coach? Like somebody who was like legit seeing and correcting. Do you remember who that was or what that experience was like?
Nicole Christensen.
And,
Yeah.
and when was that?
This was in 2018. So I coached at the gym it's called Norbo CrossFit in Beaumont, Texas, where I'm from. I coached there from beginning, like late 2014 until the end of 2018. I went to school for a little bit when I was coaching. I was like part-time coaching, and I was going to school for nutrition. I had another part-time job at Vitamin Shop, and kind of just like was leaning so heavily into like the CrossFit stuff that I just like I quit going to school. I quit my other job, and I was like, hey man, like to the Jason, the guy that owned the gym, like, look, like this is what I want to do. I want to do this full time. Like, what's next? Like, how many do you have more things to give me? And it was like, gym is like 100 members. It's a small community where he's like, yeah, like this is, I mean, I don't really have a lot more. Like you want to start programming, or like, I was like, no, like how do I make this? Do you want to open another location, or like, what's the next step for me? And from my eyes, it didn't look like there was a lot of like potential there. So I basically started just like looking around. I was like, I know that there's people that do this full time. Like those guys in the red shirts, they said they coach. That's what they do. Like, I feel like I can find somewhere. Went to visit Boulder, Colorado. I had a buddy that was living there at the time. I'd never been there, who was a member at CrossFit Roots. And we dropped in there, and I was like so blown away with everything. It's like, I mean, Roots is the mecca, man. Like, it was like something I'd never been around before. And I just shot my shot, man. I think Nicole was there. I don't think she coached my class, but she was like around the gym. And I like saw her, I was like, hey, my name, like introduced myself. I'm Connor. Like, hey, if you're ever looking for a coach, like I had my level 2 at that point. I'm like, I'm level 2. I live in Texas. Like, here's my information. Like, why not? You know, didn't hear from her for like 6 months. And then randomly one day got an email, and it was like, hey, this is Nicole from CrossFit Roots. Like, we're looking for a full-time coach that has like experience with nutrition and competing. Your name came to mind. Like, would you like to interview? I was like, hell yeah, this is like a gold, man. So yeah, that's how that started.
That's not, they can't end the story there.
Not, yeah. So then what happens?
She emails you and you go, cool. And like, then what happens?
Thanks. Delete. That was great. I'm so glad I got that email. That was fun.
Yeah. No, she asked if I want to interview. So I did a couple like Zoom interviews, whatever, with like her and Eric, and then Allie Minton, who was the operations manager at the time. And then they offered to do like an in-person interview. She was like, we'll fly you up here. We'll pay for your lodging and all this stuff. And I was like what? Like that in itself, I was like, holy shit, you're going to pay for my, like, this is crazy. We went up there, and I guess I said the right things or something at the interview. Anyway, got offered a job to be a full-time coach. And I was like, no hesitation whatsoever. I was like, yes, 100%. Uprooted and just left and moved to Boulder, Colorado. I don't have know anybody up there, or like, but it's like, I'll figure it out. Like, I had one friend up there at the time. But I looked at it as an opportunity to like do what I wanted to do full time. And I remember at that in-person interview, her asking like, what's your like long-term, or like, what do you want out of this? Like, what are your goals? And I specifically told her, I was like, well, one day I want to open my own gym, and I want to be on CrossFit seminar staff. And she was like, okay, like I can help. Like, this is where you want to be. I'm like, all right. So yeah.
So then you show up at a facility that is probably more professionally ran than your previous one.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got much higher level coaches there. So then what does that journey look like? Do you get there? Do you feel like a fish out of water? Like, how do you start to develop, and what happens next?
Well, first off, it was a requirement to have a level 3 to coach at CrossFit Roots. And I did not have a level 3. I had a level 2. But Nicole had like written like a little agreement or whatever, like, hey, you have 1 year to get your level 3, or else like we'll revisit this and whatever. So that in and of itself, like, not like I was by far the lowest like experienced person there, level 2. Everybody else is level 3, level 4. E.C. Sinkowski was still coaching there at the time. David Tittle was coaching there at the time. Jenny Orr, and then obviously Nicole and Eric. Like, I was around like some of the best coaches like in the game. So I think it kind of motivated me just to like level up and kind of like try to get on par with them. So I just pursued getting the level 3 and tried to hang around Nicole and Jenny and those people as much as I could, and EC and all those guys, and just learn. Ended up taking the level 3 like 11 months and 3.5 weeks from the day that I had. Once I got my level 3, that was at the time the prerequisite to apply for seminar staff. So like take the test, get my results, and like get in my car and like open my phone up and like start applying for seminar staff. Like, this is it. Like I'm in. And then that was a journey in itself. Like it was, that was a long process, but.
So I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the biggest takeaways? Like, how did your skills as a coach develop once you get to Roots? Obviously, you're around these great coaches. There's so much to be learned just by watching how other people do it. I'm assuming you start to mimic and copy what you see. Like, what were some of the bigger things that you were able to do? It's like, it's one thing to copy stealing somebody's progressions and using those progressions and figuring out how to follow like a tell, show, do, check process. But things like seeing and correcting, it's kind of hard to copy that. So what does it actually look like of you coaching on the floor, and how do you develop there?
Yeah. So the first month or two, Nicole really, I think this is kind of what they do. I'm assuming what they do with like other coaches when they join. She spent a lot of time with me in the first month or two. Just like she would take most of my classes and give me feedback afterwards, or like have me like sit in on her class or watch one of my classes, whatever it is. And I think just getting consistent like feedback, like, and like things like, hey, let's work on this next time, or maybe let's look into like, here's this course you could take to improve in this. Just always having some sort of guidance. And you guys have been around her. She's, does a billion things in the speed it takes most people to do 3 or 4 things. And it's just like, it's kind of motivating just to be around her, like, cause she's so like on top of it and just like good at stuff that it makes everybody else around her kind of like rise to that level. So I was definitely part of that. Also they did coach development meetings like once a week there. So like we do seeing and correct, like the stuff we do at the level 2, like seeing and correcting drills or like teaching whatever it is. And that stuff I had never done besides the level 2 course. Like I'd never done like drills, like working on coaching and stuff. So that helped a ton.
And so which one of those things do you think you improved the most while you were there? Like what was the biggest area that you grew while being at Roots?
Seeing movement faults, seeing correcting for sure. Like I was very, very inexperienced. I thought I had a good eye and I thought I was like good at like creating effective change, but I was like, just after watching like Ginny's class, after watching Nicole coach, like every single one of the coaches, I was like, oh shit. Like I didn't see anything that they just saw. Like, what are they looking for? Like, what do I need to look for? So that was kind of like, no pun intended, open my eyes a little bit there. But seeing faults, like for sure. I remember like during my classes, Nicole would just kind of like walk around with me like a heavy day on a back squat, whatever. Like, all right, we're going to watch like Aaron do this squat. And we'd watch like his 3 reps or whatever. She's like, all right, what'd you see? And I 9 times out of 10 would have like no idea. I'd be like, I think they need to engage their core more. You know what I mean? Some stupid.
just standard, yeah, just like, yeah.
But she would like be like, hey, no, look right here. Look at his hips just look at his hips right here. Like on this next rep, what do you see? I'm like, oh, like he's not sitting his hips back. She's like, yeah, I nailed it. Like she just was like constantly like planting those little seeds for me. Like teaching me what to look for, like where to look. And as you guys know, it just makes things much more systematic and much more successful.
So you're there for a year, you get your level 3, you start applying to seminar staff. What, like, continue on with your journey coaching there. How long did you end up coaching there? Or how long did it take you to get on staff? Like,
well, he said that the staff thing was quite a story. So
right.
Start at the beginning.
Story, it was a pain, man. I coached across the Roots until like 2018 to 2022, or right before the start of 2022, so almost 4 years. But once I got that the level 3 and I applied for seminar staff, like first time it's like, hey, I was in Colorado and there's 50 trainers in Colorado. You know what I mean? Like 4 of them are at the Roots. Like I had no shot. Right. Like, of course sorry.
All good.
I was freaking out. Hey. Anyways, I applied to be on seminar staff, and immediately it's like, hey, we're not hiring people in your area. Like, check back in 3 months. Cool. Set a calendar date. 3 months later, hey, we're not hiring in your area. Check back in 3 months. This happened like 5 or 6 times. And all the while, like, I'm still like training and like doing drills with like anytime I could be around like Nicole, Jenny, or EC or Tittle. Like I just wanted to soak up as much as I could from things. Like, this is going to pay off once I do get there. Like, I'm going to be the most prepared, like, intern they've ever had. And it was like a year and a half, man. Yeah, like I said, I think like 5 or 6 times I applied. They're like, yeah, like, we're just not hiring in your area. And I'll say this, why not? I kind of got in a little bit in an unorthodox way, and I'm not. I don't know if I should be proud of it or if it's like, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. You guys tell me. I was the affiliate manager for Roots at the time for like the CrossFit Open. We're doing the CrossFit Open, whatever. Like, I'm in the back office. It's like that Friday. And Nicole Carroll her and Tosh live up the mountain in Boulder. And they would come down and work out at Roots every now and then.
Yeah.
So me and Nicole Christensen are sitting in the back office, and she gets a text from Nicole Carroll. And it's like, hey, Nicole told me to ask you to validate her video for the Open. And me just being like, not even thinking, like, immediately just respond back. I'm like, yeah, tell her if she pushes my application along for seminar staff, then I will. And Nicole's like, okay. Types back. I'm like, wait, no. Like, don't say that. And then no shit. 5 minutes later, I get an email from Nicole, CC'd with like Todd and David's like, hey, Connor, thank you for your application. We'd love to have you like come and try out a weekend. Like, what dates work for you? And I was like, that's all I had to do? Are you
just withhold somebody's score right there?
Like, for a year and a half, I've been trying to do this. All I had to do was just say, like, just damn, man. But yeah, that was it.
Well, that's how the world works. Like, there's zero shame in that. I don't even think that's unorthodox. It's just, you saw an opportunity, you threw a little joke out there, and it landed, dude. Like, that's the reality of the world. Like that. Like,
yeah, you had leverage and you used it to your advantage. Oh yeah, you want your score on the leaderboard?
Yeah, you want to be on the leaderboard? Like, all right.
You still had to execute. So like, maybe you got given the opportunity, but now the truth is going to be revealed. Are you ready? So now what happens? You get this opportunity.
Yeah. So I mean, I probably responded back to that email in seconds. Like, the most excited I've like ever been as an adult. And of course they asked, like, what's the like, you're going to cover your own travel, blah, blah, blah. Like, find a seminar that works for you, whatever. I did not care about where it was, how far, like, I was like, what's the next one? And there's like 8 seminars the following weekend. And I just like replied with all 8 of those, like, any of these, I'll make it. And they're like, okay, well, like, how about there's one in Texas, like, go to that one. I'm like, actually, that works great because I have family, I can whatever. So within a week, I go down there to do the first one. And that was at the time before we had the new like candidate process. So the first one was kind of like hey, just come like watch and don't say anything. We're going to just make sure you're not a douchebag. And like, do people like to be around you? Like, you're just kind of here. But I went in like, this is my time to shine. I'm going to go and I'm going to run this. I'm going to run the breakout groups. Like, and I was with Nadia, and the first group, she's like doing the squats or whatever. And I was just like going around the circle and just like hewing and cracking people. She didn't ask me to do this. She actually told me, she was like, just sit down and like take notes.
Will you shut up and leave me alone and quit trying to coach my group?
Yeah. Like, during the middle of the, like maybe 10 minutes into the air squat, she like came over, she's like, hey, sit down, stop. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I thought I was like, no, just after the squats group, she's like, hey, just grab a notebook and just sit. Like, you're not supposed to be like, you don't need to do anything. Like, we're not there yet. I was like, okay. Didn't get canned on the first one though, surprisingly.
Yeah, because like if the like metric was like, you know, not be a douchebag, like, I'm really curious, how did you fool those?
That's close. Yeah.
I mean, how did you fool those markers? That's impressive. I know,
right?
Like, we gotta.
I slipped through the cracks, I guess, man. But after that first group, the first one, I was kind of like, all right, like, relax. Like, I kind of understood what was happening at that point, so I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and like.
Who else do you have on that gig? You had Nadia,
Jeremy Graves, and then Marta Gerardo.
Oh,
okay, that's an interesting group. The Nadia is, I love Nadia, but Nadia is extremely, how do I say this? She's extremely binary with how she like views people. So if you fall into a category with her, you're there. Like, you're not moving. Like, so what's interesting is you, something that you did allowed you to move through that process, because like some way that you presented yourself was enough for her to see goodness in that. Cause like she's got a very high bullshit detector
Yes.
Like I don't think anyone's ever pulled one over on her.
It's extremely intimidating as well.
She's extremely intimidating for a 5'4", 110-pound woman. Very. Yeah. So good job. Way to squeak past Nadia. She's
way to somehow, man. Yeah, make it through, and then get the next email like that like Monday or Tuesday, like from Todd or whoever it was at the time. Was like, hey, like we'd love to invite you back for another seminar. Like, let us know when the next one is. Same story. And I looked at the next, like, okay, this weekend's the 20th. What's on the 20th? And just responded with like all of them. It's like any of these. He's like, all right, there's one in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I drive like 10 hours or whatever it is from Boulder to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I was with Eric O'Connor and Tegan on that one.
And who?
Tegan.
Okay, nice. So you go from Nadia Shatila to Eric O'Connor. Nice.
The complete opposite, right?
Yeah. Right. So this one, I think I did like, I prepared so much. Like I for a year and a half, and then even time before that, before I was like, had the credentials to apply, like I just, like I said, I spent as much time around like Nicole and Jenny and EC, these people as I possibly could. Just anytime they were coaching, if they were like, I would go take their class or go watch if I'd already like worked out or whatever. Roots hosted level 1s and level 2s pretty frequently, and I would always volunteer. Like we would have somebody work the front desk. Like it wasn't coaches; it was like our like part-time like CU students that just did the front desk and like change the like shower stuff and like empty the trash. But I would volunteer. Like I'll do it. Like I'll work the level 1 this weekend. So I was constantly like seeing stuff and just like taking notes. So honestly the second seminar weekend of my internship, like I felt pretty confident, like not in like a egotistical way, but I was like, no, I know the points of performance. I know the like progressions. I can teach this. Like I know how to tell, show, do, check.
How amazing how easy it is when that's just how you coach. You know what I mean? Like when you are at a place like Roots where it's like, hey, if you're going to teach the push press, you're probably going to use the level 1 progression. Right. And we're probably going to use PVC pipes. And on occasion, they're going to be in circles. Then all of a sudden you get to a level 1 and you're like, oh, I've done this before. It's not so foreign. And I'm not like making stuff up and playing a game. It's like, no, I'm just doing what I do every single time that I coach. And it just puts you so far ahead of the game. Number one, with the skill set required. But the number two, like you said, with the confidence, because so many people are it's such a nerve-wracking environment in general.
Totally.
That it's hard to fake it if you don't coach that way. And if you don't typically use those progressions, and if you don't, work on seeing and correcting at your affiliate, that's why it's almost impossible for people to pass and get through.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it, man. Like, Roots runs their classes like by the book. Like we teach you to run it at the level 1. Like there's no frills. That I don't know what they follow now, but at the time we followed CrossFit main site. So it was like, we're doing pure CrossFit. Shit. Dudes, that was me, not somebody knocking. They follow CrossFit.com. They're doing 1 workout a day. Like we do heavy days. We're not doing 15 workouts in one class. So like you had to coach. Like you have an hour of a class and you're doing a 5x3 deadlift. Like, okay, you got to coach. Like you can't fill that with just BS, and the lesson planning that we're like, all the coaches write their own lesson plans there, like alternate days. But yeah, man, I did feel like that was an advantage, and like the preparation that I had. Same story, finished that one. They invited me to go back to another one. And I may have had a week off between this one, but the third weekend I went to like Blue Spring or somewhere outside of Kansas City, I think, Missouri or whatever. Steve Haydock was the flow, and then Kelly Jackson and Wes Pyatt were the trainers. And Kelly was training for the games at the time, and Wes Pyatt, like,
just Wes Pyatt.
Just exactly, trains like a maniac all the time.
And at this time, like, I was still like heavily in the competition world. I was a bubble regional athlete. I would go there and get 30th out of 30, but just be like happy I got the t-shirt. You know what I mean? So like Wes and Kelly were like, I was like, these are the guys, man. They're so cool.
That's rad. Wes is a good dude too, right? He's awesome, man. You see him online, then you meet him in person. You're like, oh my God, you are real. Like he's
the coolest guy. Like,
yeah, yeah. Really do love that man. We got to get him on here, Todd. That's a good. Like, I'll bring him in live in the studio and we can do a double one. It'll be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. So your story sounds like one of like tons of action and like very clear direction. and by no means easy at all. It sounds like it took you a long ass time. Like you think in 2014 you had this vision. It comes to fruition in 2019. Is this it? 2018?
I got hired. That's when I moved to Roots in 18. I got hired on staff in 2021.
21. So look at that. It's like a
was it
7 year.
Was it your third time? Was it with Steve? Did Steve bring you on?
Yeah. I did the third internship with Steve and those guys, and he did the classic at the end of the weekend. Like he's telling me my feedback, and he's got like this pissed off look on his face, and everything sounds negative, and like my heart drops, my stomach's like in knots, and I'm like, dude, I blew it. Like,
dude, and he's not an easy one to convince.
Man,
like he is. There are many interns or candidates have gone to die by the sword of Lord Steve Adolph. That's for sure, dude.
As they should.
Rightfully so, but like he's a tough one. Even when you're on staff, he's not an easy one to have on your side. So that's impressive.
Yeah, and you know Steve, like he's so laid back and so just like goofy and funny. He's like the friendliest, but like all weekend he's like that. Hadn't really like talked a ton with me outside of like dinner and stuff like that. Like kind of just left me to my own. And his persona changed 180, dude. When they started taking the test, he was like, Connor, let's go outside. And I'm like, all right, heart rate's 240. You know what I mean? Like beating out of my chest. Dude, he went from like happy-go-lucky to just like 5 minutes of all this negative feedback. I think one of the things that he'd asked me to do on the first day, he was like, hey, tomorrow Sunday when you did a lot of like individual like one-on-one coaching, like where like only that athlete could hear you. Like I want you tomorrow to say that louder for the whole group because it's not only for them but it's for the rest of the participants to be able to. I'm like, okay, yeah, like got it. And like not one-on-one corrections, I'm going to say it loud enough. And I remember when he's like giving me the feedback, whatever Sunday, like during their test, he's like, yeah, well, I asked you to not do one-on-one and talk louder, and you still kept doing that. You kept talking one-on-one and you didn't talk loud enough. And for that reason, I'm going to recommend you get hired on staff, but you better never pull that shit again. And I was like, yeah.
Excuse me, come again?
Yeah, I was like, wait, did you like the past 5 minutes? I'm like on the verge of crying, like think like my dreams are crushed. Like, like double take, like what? We'd say that again? Yeah, but it was cool, man. Super one of the best moments of my life, honestly, man. I was super stoked. Got in the car and immediately called Nicole. I'm like you're not gonna believe this. And she's like, yeah, like I do, but congrats. Like,
that's kind of what we do here. This is what we do. We prepare people to do that specific thing. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you've conquered all your dreams, what are your next goals in terms of? I mean, that was a 7-year goal. Like you had no life direction. You chose that direction. What are your visions and like your stuff moving forward? Because you did kind of reach the pinnacle of that. So, well, not the pinnacle. I mean, there's areas to move up from within what we're doing, but
yeah, I feel like it would have been easy to kind of let off the reins of like, all right, cool, I made it, I'm on. When in reality, it's like that's the time when now the work starts, and you've done so many other things, doing stuff with Cap, going to events, working that stuff, opening your affiliate. So yeah, how does the journey continue?
I think it's exactly what you said. Like, it's kind of like when I got on, it was like, all right, now the work starts. Like, I've been wanting this for forever. Like, there's like, now let's foot on the gas. Ended up moving back to Texas. I got, ended up getting married. My girlfriend at the time when it moved up with me to Colorado, and she was ready to move back to Texas. Also, I've been telling her for years, like, we're going to open our own gym one day. Like, I'm going to do it. And she was like, it's time. Like, I don't want to, we're going to move back to Texas. I want to be closer to family. Like, you did what you wanted to do when you came up here. Like, let's go back and like, you do the thing. And I was like, okay, like we will eventually. Props to her for actually like pushing me off the ledge. Cause she said that forever. And I was just like, yeah, for sure. Like, but I loved Colorado, loved my job, whatever. One day she was like, hey, I'm moving back to Texas. And I was like, okay, like when? She's like, no, I don't think you understand. Like, I'm packed. The car's packed. Like, I start school on Monday in San Antonio. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, are you like going to go back and forth? Like we're going to go every, she's like, no, Connor, I'm moving to Texas. You can either come with me or you can stay here. But like, I'm out. I'm going to Texas. And that was a wake up call. So that kind of like pushed me to figure out what it like, had to have some hard conversations with Nicole at Roots. Cause I never wanted to leave that place. I would have like, it was awesome. Everything they did for me there was great. I love the people, love the gym. But yeah, I basically moved back to Texas and started from scratch, man. We moved to an area that neither one of us are from. We're from close to the Houston area. And where we live now is like outside of Austin. So like really no network or anything, and just kind of like give it my best shot. Here's all the money that I have saved up. Like, and I got really lucky in the location that I found. It was actually a gym that had been open for a few years. It was closing, and essentially bought all the equipment from the owner. I was like, I don't want your members. I don't want your brand. Like, I'm at my own thing, but like, I'll buy the equipment. And then like redid everything, repainted the walls, and like did all the construction, opened up. And we've been lucky enough to be fairly successful since then. We're still doing pretty well. So it's been,
so this is cool. So I love the fact that you've worked for someone this entire time. Now you finally, like, you've got your skills honed to a point where you're been certified a ninja. You just made it on staff. Like you're like, you're good to go. And then you're like, okay, now you got to run your own business. So when you open up your own gym, like, what was that experience like for you of like, okay, wait, I set the tone. I'm the one who everything, because there's a big difference between working for someone and running it. Now, I personally much prefer running it because I don't have to deal with other people's bullshit. But like, tell me what that was like opening up and running your own space. Like, what did that, you just from coaching and having that role to like, was it just the perfect time and you're ready for it and you knew what to do? Or like, what was that process like?
I think I was so like I only knew like CrossFit roots by the book, coaching, like seminar stuff. Like that was all I did. I was a full-time coach, and I did that for the past 7-8 years or whatever. So like my confidence in the gym floor, coaching classes and providing a good experience for the members and like offering a value, like I was extremely confident there. Like I went into this endeavor 100% leaning on like, okay, if I can just coach really, really well, and if I can provide results for people and keep them like seeing positive trends and like they want to come back, like good things will happen. Like it'll just take care of itself. Zero experience with business, zero experience with anything other than, quite frankly, like sports, baseball or coaching CrossFit. So like the back end stuff of it, I was completely clueless, but just 100% leaned. I was like, if I can just coach really, really well, like, and provide a good experience, like it'll take care of itself. I think I got really lucky in that aspect. For the better part of 2 years, basically coached every single class. So I'm sure you guys were there at some point in the early days when you're the 5 a.m. coach and the 7 p.m. coach, and you're taking the bathroom, like cleaning the bathrooms, taking the trash out, you're programming, you're doing all the things, man. So I was just on the grind, dude.
Oh yeah.
Not paying myself from the gym. My wife had a full, she's a nurse. She was nursing at the time. And I'm still doing seminars on the weekend just to make ends meet, because all the money that it was just going back to the gym. But one of the things that I wanted to do since we opened, that was like very important to me, was I wanted to be able to provide the same opportunity that I was given from Nicole and Eric at Roots to someone else that was like wanting to go down that route. Like I want to give somebody else the opportunity to become a like full-time CrossFit coach and develop them and then like set them on their way. And currently have 2 coaches that are like well on their way to do that. They're my 2 full-time coaches now that we've been developing. They're awesome. So it's really cool to kind of be on this end of it now.
Yeah. So you go from coaching all the classes, but you're where does the success start coming? So like because like you start you obviously delivered a great product on the floor because that was what you knew. So where do things start to fall into alignment with the success financially and gym wise, as well as delivering awesome stuff on the floor?
Man, we were, like I said, we were really lucky. The location that we're at is, we're in Georgetown. So it's 30-40 minutes north of Austin. And it's historically like a slow, like older kind of like retirement town. But in the past, like 3 or 4 years has been exploding because people are moving out of the city out to here. And there's just tons of houses and stuff coming up. So that was heavily in our favor. Also the grand opening, man, for like found the building that I wanted, like got the keys over, and I was like, all right, I'm going to set a date from 1 month from today, January 8th, we're going to do this grand opening. Did everything I could to like get the gym set up. And then I just started going around town, man. I printed out like flyers and stuff. And was just every single business, small business, like everywhere, just for like 3 weeks. Sending out stuff like, hey, here's a free like raffle ticket to the whatever, like invite your friends. Like, hey, here's just everywhere I could go. Seeing a business wanted to like sponsor it or give like gifts or whatever. Dude, we gave away like, I think I spent like a few $1,000s, if not more, on like prizes from like Noble and Yeti. And like, I was just like, I'm going to get people to show up. If I can just get people in the door, like then I can do it, you know?
Yeah.
At the grand opening, dude, we had like almost 100 people show up. And that day we signed up like 34 members.
Yeah.
Like, in that first, like did a workout, had like a little like raffle drawing and like catered some barbecue and stuff. 34 members on that first day. And I think we needed 30 to like break even. So I was like, we did it. Day one.
We did it. We're here.
I'm going to retire. Yeah, I'm good.
Woo!
But yes, from then on, man, it was just like slow and steady. There's a few other affiliates in the area. Like it's a very, very populated area. So it's not like there's no shortage of people. But I think just like word of mouth and people telling their friends, it's just kind of steadily grown the entire time. It still is. So it's been really cool.
That's awesome, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, dude.
And I love your vision to commit to what's the delivery on the floor. Cause I like that really is the thing that most people I see missing. Like they're so wrapped up in the business side of it that they fail to offer a product. And you're like, well, I think you've got it a little backwards. Let's give a great product. And then we can also, it's not like don't ignore the business stuff. You want to have the business stuff, but you gotta be offering something that makes you and ideally helps people really well. That's awesome.
Totally.
Good for you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, but I think now it's like I'm on that note. Dude just said like I just recently offloaded. Like I was coaching 25 classes a week or more up until about 6 months ago.
Nice.
When I finally hired my second full-time coach, I basically gave them about half of them. So I offloaded like all this time and energy that I was spending on the floor, and I kind of had this like I guess like crisis of just being like, what do I do with this like time? Like I'm used to being in the gym all day, like coaching 7 classes a day. Like I'm like, oh shit, there's a business. Maybe I should learn how to like do payroll, or maybe I should like just basic, like so now I'm just like trying to figure that stuff out. And I'm completely foreign to it, but that's kind of like my next endeavor is like, let's figure out how to like do the business side of it and maybe figure that stuff out. But,
well, I know some decent mentors in that space. If you ever are looking out, just out of curiosity. Yeah.
Solid
plug. Cool, man. Well, if like, I love your story. I love like it to me is the story of hard work. Like that's what it is. It's like you literally had a vision. And you just put your head down and did work. And like even by like as an idiot young man, like you just kept doing the work. Like it was nothing was really given to you. It was just like you took advantage of opportunities and over and over again got to a place where it was like, okay, I've reached the limit of what I'm capable of doing here. And then you had someone in your life be like, and push a little further.
Yeah.
and it like, it's such a great, like, I don't know. It's just, to me, that's like the story. Like, that's what it is. Like, that's this whole process is you surround yourself with awesome people. You say yes to opportunities when they present themselves, and you keep trying over and over again until all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, I'm kind of here. But now it's just refining all of this to be even more magical. And like, that's what a journey, dude. Good for you.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think you nailed it, man. I credit any and everything that I've been able to do and the opportunities I've been given by just being around the people that I've gotten the opportunity to be around. Like hanging around people that do what you want to do and like are better than you at that stuff. And like usually good things happen. And that's been kind of my motto all along. So
yeah. And not being afraid to hear no and then follow up, right? No right now doesn't mean no forever. And so many people, I think, take it that way, right? You could have, applied to Nicole's gym to CrossFit Roots and you didn't hear anything for 3 months and been like, it's never going to happen and move on and do something completely different. But you still left that opportunity waiting there. I know a number of people that'll send the email asking about the opportunity for seminar staff and says they're not hiring. And it's like, nope. All right, cool. I'm going to move on and do something else. So not being afraid to follow up and keep pushing until you get what you want, man. That's huge. So really, really cool.
So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
I will bar 10 CrossFit, BAR10. CrossFit is the name of the gym in Georgetown, Texas. I'm on social media and all that. I'm not very good at it, but I think my handle is Connor McDonald 8 or Connor McDonald something. I don't know.
One of the numbers.
Yeah.
Sick. Well, cool, man. Appreciate you spending time with us. I'm stoked to hear your story. I look forward to a day we get to work together. Should be fun.
Dude, that would be amazing. I got to do diesel days with Todd. I haven't worked with him yet, though.
No,
this guy just
shared misery and suffering.
Yeah, watched him running laps as I was just fucking chilling, just taking a knee pretty much the whole entire time.
Come on.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Behind the Knowledge. Now, if you want help developing your coaching and to learn from us directly, check out the Knowledge Pro. There we host live calls with our coaches every week where we discuss content together and work on skills to improve our on-the-floor coaching ability. To learn more, you can head over to besthouroftheirday.com/the knowledge. And if you found this content helpful, we're going to be releasing new episodes every week, so subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.